So it's Shabbos Parsha Shoftim Dal El Tavshchav Zayin. He begins Shoftim Tin L'chal B'chol Sharecha. Judges and officers you should place for you in all your gates, Gomer. The Shoftos Am Mishpat Tzedek, and they will judge the nation righteous and justice. The Isa Medrash Rabbah, and the Medrash Rabbah, it's brought down. What is the thing likened to? A king that had many children, and he loved the youngest more than all of his children. He had one orchard or one garden, and he loved that orchard more than all of his possessions. So the king said, I'm going to give this orchard that I love, I love it more than anything that I own, to my youngest child, that I love him more than all my children. So too Hashem said, from all the nations that I created, I only love the Jewish people. Like it says, Kinar Yisrael that the Yidden are like a youth, and I love him, just like we saw it said the youngest child. And from all that I've created, all I love is judgment and justice. Like it says in the pasuk, I Hashem love justice. Hashem said, I give what I loved to the nation that I love. That's why it says you shall place judges in all your gates, and they shall judge the nation. The Medrash concludes, Hashem said, in the merit of mishpat, of justice, I make dwell my Shechina within them. Like it says in the pasuk, that Hashem becomes elevated in mishpat, and Hashem that is holy becomes sanctified with tzedakah. Actually, in the quote of the Medrash, it's a little bit. In the actual Medrash, it says it a little bit different. We'll bring the quote in a moment. After we finish the next line, and the merit of the justice, I will redeem you a complete redemption. Like it says, Shimru mishpat vasu tzedakah, observe and guard mishpat and do tzedakah, ki kroiv yishuasi lavi, because very soon my salvation is going to come. So it means that the salvation will come very quickly from the mishpat and tzedakah. Let's move down a little bit to footnote 5. It says over here that the way he sums up the Medrash is this language that the Rebbe sums it up is Keinu Bereish Divrei Maskal Shoftim V'Shoitrim Tafresh Ayin Beis. That is the way it's quoted in the Maimer Shoftim V'Shoitrim of the year Tafresh Ayin Beis of the Medrash Rabbah. But the actual quote from the Medrash Rabbah is as follows: B'schus Shatem Mishamrim B'Sadin, in the merit that you will guard justice, ani misgave, I become raised up higher. Menayin, how do we know that Hashem becomes raised up higher? Through the Yidden guarding justice. Shenemar, like it says, vayigba Hashem tzvakis v'mishpat, and Hashem tzvakis become raised up through mishpat. Vayidei shatem magbim oise bedin, through raising me up through justice, afani oise tzedakah, so then also I will do tzedakah. Umashru kedushasi b'nechem, the tzedakah of Hashem is that Hashem makes His holiness rest amongst the Yidden. Menayin, how do we know that Hashem does tzedakah and He makes His holiness rest amongst them? Shenem, like it says, v'akel hakadosh nikdash b'tzedakah, and the holy God becomes sanctified with tzedakah. If you observe both of them, tzedakah v'adin, both tzedakah and justice, immediately I will redeem you with a complete redemption, like you brought the pasuk over there. Let's continue back in the text. We're holding 5 lines from the bottom of the first paragraph. But we need to understand Ma Shaykh in Kinar Yisrael in Mishpat. What's the connection of the fact that the Yidden are considered a youth, a young lad, to the idea of Mishpat? Shani Noisen HaMishpat LiYisrael, that Hashem says, I give justice to the Yidden because Lefishu Narchul, because he's a youth. Shemoira Al Katnus, it indicates being immature, small, etc. Seemingly being mature, being an adult, etc., is more valuable. So why does Hashem choose to give us this great gift? Because we are a youth. The Gamsar Allah, and also when you understand Ma'wa Inyan, what's the idea? In the merit of Mishpat, I make my Shechina dwell. And the merit of justice, they are redeemed in a complete redemption. Seemingly, what's the connection, association between the two matters, one to another? That on the one hand, the merit of Mishpat brings down Hashem's Shechina, and on the other hand, the merit of the Mishpat brings the Geula. So there must be a connection that Mishpat, justice, brings about both these things. Oizbeis. To be able to understand this, we first have to explain the idea that it says, you shall place for you judges and officers in the service of a Yid. By prefacing, though the idea of judges and officers you shall place upon you, that is a mitzvah essa that is applicable to the congregation as a whole. It's not an individual mitzvah of every individual person. Lemanois, shoftim, top of page 317, b'chol medina, b'chol pelach u'pelach, b'chol ir v'ir, b'chol shevet v'shevet. It's to appoint judges and officers in every country, or every state, and every county, if you will, and every city, and every shevet, every tribe, koilo gam min Sanhedrin, including, this also includes the mitzvah of appointing Sanhedrin. Mitzvah zune hegitz besman abayis u'bert Yisrael bavad, like the Sefer HaChinuch says, that this mitzvah of shoftim v'shotim titn l'cha, it's applicable in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, and specifically in Eretz Yisrael. Mikal Makom, still in all, Gam Lachri Shabbat LaSanhedrin, even after the Sanhedrin ceased, that's limited to the times of the Beis HaMikdash. V'gam Bezman HaGolus, even in the time of Golus, u'b'chutz la'aretz, and outside of Eretz Yisrael. Yeshnei in the shoftim v'shotim titn l'cha gaimer beruch nitzach upanim. There's the idea of appointing judges and officers, at least the spiritual idea of judges and officers, ba'avodas ha'adam, in the service of a person. Shezeu gam ha'diuk mashakasav shoftim v'shotim titn l'cha lashon yachid. This is also the exact language that says, you shall place for you in the singular, not lachem, but for you in the singular, judges and officers. Why? Seemingly, if it's a communal obligation, if it's a mitzvah, it's mutelas al tzibur, like we said before. So it just says, shoftim v'shotim titn lachem, or shoftim v'shotim titnu b'chol sha'arecha. Why the emphasis titan lacha in the singular? This comes to teach us that at least the spiritual component of this is applicable to every single yid, b'chol zman, in every time, gam b'zman hagolos, even in a time of exile, or b'chol makom, and in every place, gam b'chutz la'aretz, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, there's a spiritual idea of judges and officers. Ois Gimel. The idea behind this is Kemuva Boira Torah Parsha, saying, like it's brought down in Noira Torah that Tzemach Tzedek on our Parsha, Shesh Beis Pirushim Mashakosa B'chol Sha'arecha. There's two explanations in what it says in all your gates. The Hinei Pirush Hashach Ala Torah is in the Sifsei Kohen's commentary on the Torah is brought down. Shekol Sha'arecha, what are all your gates? Heim Heinayim Ve'oznayim Peh Yodayim V'Raglayim. The eyes, the ears, the mouth, the hands, and the feet. So in other words, how does he explain the idea of your gates, that you need to have judges, you need to have officers? It's talking about all the limbs and organs of a person. It's not limited to certain specific ones. It's encompassing the entire body. We need to have judges and officers over. But in Sefer Yetzirah is brought down, there are 7 letters that are doubles, like we have, the Alter Rebbe brings us down in Tanya, concerning the 7 midas. He also borrows this term from Sefer Yetzirah, there's Sheva Kfulos, but it's the Sefer Yetzirah speaking about the letters Beis, Gimel, Daled, Beged, Kafras, Chof, Fei, Reish, Sof, that these are all double letters. In other words, you have them both the hard sound and the soft sound, like a Beis and a Vase, a Kof and a Chof, a Pei and a Fei, a Tof and a Sof. The other letters also have a hard and soft sound, but we're not that educated as far as them. And there's the 7. So the Sefer Yetzirah says there's the 7 double letters, and as well as there's the 7 double letters, there's a Sha'arim B'Nefesh. There's also 7 gates of the soul, as we will soon explain what those gates are. There's the Ravid's commentary on Sefer Yetzirah. He explains from the 7 doubled letters, the 7 stars that travel, that in the times of Chazal they spoke about 7 kochvei lechas they receive from the 7 double letters, umehem, and from them mekablim zayin shom sheba'adam, the 7 gates of a person receives. What are the 7 gates? The Ravid over there explains Shem Beis Nayim, Beis is 9, Beis Nechirei Afa Peh. 7 is 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and the mouth. So altogether it's 7. So, and not only does the Ravid say that there's the 7 gates of the person that they receive from the 7 kfulos, etc. The Sefer Yetzirah itself later mentions these 7 gates. And so in other words, this is distinct than what we had in the Shach. In the Shach, Allah Torah, it refers to an entire body. In the Sefer Yetzirah, it comes out that the 7 gates are only in the head. And the Zayin Sha'arim Elu, and these 7 gates, Hemadalad Bechinas Riyah, Shmiya, Reach, V'dibur. These are the 4 levels of, normally what most of them are called senses, not all of them, the sight, hearing, scent, and speech. And these 4 levels of Re'iyah, Shmiya, Reach, and Dibur, Shem Keneged, Dalad, Oisya, Shem Havaya. These correspond to the 4 letters of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Einayim was Nayim, Re'iyah, Shmiya, Keneged, Chachma, Bina. Eyes and ears, that's the idea of vision and the idea of hearing. Those correspond to Chachma and Bina. Chachma is a type of revelation that we receive, just like a flash. It's like an image that you see all at once. That's the level of Chachma. That's vision. Then there's the level, that's why the Chazal say, the Chachamim are called Einei Ha'eda. The sages, the Chachamim, specifically Chachma, are called the eyes of the congregation. And then there's a level of Shmiya. There's a level of hearing. Hearing, that's also hearing is associated with understanding. Daber noch kishemei avdecha. Speak because your servant hears. That's referring not hearing, it's referring to understanding. So that's Bina. So Ri and Shmiya, that corresponds to Chachma Bina. And we know that Yud Kei of Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, Yud is Chachma and Hey is Bina. Af, Reach, the idea of Af, which is the level of scent, Keneged Zeir Ampin, corresponds to the 6 midas, or Keneged Tiferes, or corresponds to the Tiferes through Klolos HaZeir Ampin, the general idea of Zah, which again, Zeir Ampin, the 6 midas, has to do with the Ois Vav of Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, Upeh, and the mouth, which is the level of Dibur, which is speech. Keneged Malchus, they correspond to the level of Sfiras HaMalchus. Tomorrow we're going to explain the connection with the 7 gates with the idea of kfulos, that in the 7 gates itself, there's also an idea of doubles as well.